When we think of panorama, we think of looking at something from a wider picture or wide view. The same can be said of the prophetic panorama of events to unfold in the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation, with 22 chapters, lays out for us the final eschaton of humanity. The first 69 weeks of Daniel's prophecy is 483 prophetic years on the Jewish lunar calendar, or 173,880 days from Nehemiah to the death of the Messiah is foretold in Daniel 9:26. His death ended the 69 weeks. At that point, God stops the prophetic clock. He interrupts the 70th week program for Israel during the period called the church age. The gap of time between the 69th and the 70th week is the church age we are in now. That commenced in Acts chapter 2 at the day of Pentecost. The church was a mystery to the Jewish prophets. They had no idea concerning the church. Paul the Apostle said in Ephesians 5:32, "This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church." During the unspecified time period of the church age, the unsaved world speaks of peace and safety in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 3, and they have no idea of what is to come. God removes the born-again, blood-washed church at the rapture. Romans 5:9, 1 Corinthians 15, 51, 52, 1 Thessalonians 1:10, 1 Thessalonians 4, 13 through 18, and Revelation 3:10. God will now resume the prophetic clock once the church is taken out of here at the rapture. He will resume the 70th week program for Israel, a time of Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7, which has nothing to do with the ecclesia, the church, the called out ones. The church was not in the 69 weeks, obviously, and the church is obviously absent on the earth during the final 7-year period of tribulation. The final week commences when the Antichrist from the revived Roman Empire confirms the covenant with Israel for 1 week. That's Daniel 9:27. That will begin that 2,520-day period divided into two periods of 1,260 days, the first half of the tribulation period, and 1,260 days, the last half of the tribulation period. And during that 7-year period, God unleashes 21 judgments on the earth with 7 seals, Revelation 6, 7 trumpet judgments, Revelation chapters 8 and 9, and 7 vial or bowl judgments, Revelation chapters 15 and 16. At the midway point of the tribulation, Antichrist breaks that treaty with Israel and puts a cessation to animal sacrifices in the rebuilt third Jewish temple. Jesus calls it the abomination of desolation in Matthew 24 and verse 15. The Jews flee into the mountains in what Jesus describes in Matthew 24 verse 16, in which we believe to be Petra, indirectly mentioned in Scripture in Isaiah 16, 1 and 4, Isaiah 26, 20, Isaiah 63, 1 through 6, Revelation 12, 6, Revelation 12, 14. Jesus will return at his second coming at the end of the 70th week, or the end of the 7-year period of tribulation, to put an end to the carnage. If he did not come by the space of the last 3.5 years of the end of the tribulation period, no life on earth would be left, according to what he said in Matthew 24:22. Jesus will destroy the beast and the false prophet and cast them into the lake of fire, Revelation 19, 19 and 20. Satan is incarcerated in the bottomless pit for the duration of the 1,000-year kingdom, Revelation chapter 20, verses 1 through 7. Satan will be finally cast into the lake of fire in Revelation chapter 20, verse 10, at the end of the kingdom. The great white throne judgment commences in Revelation chapter 20, 11 through 15, in which all unbelievers are summoned from the holding place of hell and stand before Jesus at this judgment. They are then cast into the lake of fire as their final destination. There will be a new heaven, a new earth. That's Revelation chapters 21 and 22. and the eternal state will begin for the redeemed of all ages. The second death is an eternal death in the lake of fire in Revelation chapter 20, verse 14. I've heard it said, if you're born once, you will die twice. But if you're born twice, you will only die once. That's why Jesus said, ye must be born again in John chapter 3, verses 3 and 7. Have you been born again? If not, get saved today and be ready for the promise of the blessed hope. The next main event we call the rapture of the church.